this is very much parallel to the '97 Asian financial crisis, of which I was already there. Because I started my practice in back in 1991. And we were there, and I had some really sad and hurtful experiences then, which really that I learned from. Which we should learn from whenever you have sad those experiences. Every experience is a learning experience. So sabi ko, this is like a storytelling thing, and I hope that I would get into your hearts and souls of what what it's really like on a daily thing or what we do, because this is passion for me. This is not work. And so anyway, going back, so moving forward now, the challenges, so what are the challenges that we face today? By the way, I am guilty of sometimes jumping from one topic to the other, but I will try to maintain that course. Anyway, so today, the challenges that we're facing. We've got unrealistic prices for both the seller and the buyer. And now we also have more caloric individuals practicing and trying to get in a piece of the action. And the issue is, sellers some of them are desperate to sell. They're acknowledging them. So again, it defeats the raison of which I'm a hardliner of why up to now this code of ethics, 2009, it's 2020 today, still hasn't passed. That's a lot of politics right there, I tell you. Okay, so documentation is delayed. Sales are hanging, because of government agencies. Some buyers have already backed out. Some sellers have opted not to wait. Let's wait, because prices may be going down, and I'm just going to get a very low offer on my property, so it's better to pull it out. And it's also a challenge to show properties. Baka COVID kami dyan, so they're very careful on those things. It's also tough to find realistic buyers that are willing to take a bite, because on one end you've got the pre-COVID price and the post-COVID price. That's like it's a sentiment. I'll get into that sentiment word later on. So people are immediately saying, because there was an article already released by Collier's, prices are going to go 15-30%. Actually, there's some truth to that. But if I were to do a parallel of what happened in '97, Asian financial crisis, it really got worse in '99 and 2000. So this is just starting. It's going to get worse. And this is actually worse than, when you factor in both sides. In '97, '99, our OFWs were maids. That's it. We didn't have BPOs. Today we have BPOs. Our OFWs are seafarers. We've got nurses. So there's more, the OFW remittances really that's riding us out. So, but when you do that, parang okay, still never has this thing happened. Like the whole world's complete stop. And we can't go out. Never happened before. I mean, you can't even show properties. Can't even go out to buy. There's quarantine and that stuff. No. So what else are we experiencing? In the beginning, of course, we saw the rise of this deliveries. The Angkas, the Lala Move, the Mr. Speedy. Filipinos, they ride on the wave all the time. Maraming gaya-gaya yan eh. So when that happened, it was also tough to get. I was trying to get the Lala Move. Wow, 2 days couldn't get a delivery. To bring food to my dad, who's also a senior now. We couldn't even visit him at Alexandra, because some condos are still locked down, very strict. So that's also another challenge. No, there's issues on pre-termination, because of course businesses are closing, so people are trying to minimize their cost or cut down on their costs. I myself, I've got an office that I got quite a bit of overhead in Makati. It's not being used because, I went one day to my office, grabbed all the computers of my staff, and sent them to each of their residences. And so everybody's work from home. So parang sayang, my office right now, and that's monthly that I pay for that. Okay. Then of course, there's it's not really out there in the open, but we know it's happening, and I know because I'm getting used that there are already pre-terminations of office leases, particularly office leases, the PPOs or even the POGO. They're already pre-terminations. So what happens? The owner wants to forfeit. The security deposit, while the lessee wants a refund, but it doesn't really work that way. So one more common issue is the pre-termination of tenant and negotiating the pre-termination penalty. So that's another thing. That's where we come in again to negotiate in both parties. No? So there's no one answer, and we each have to negotiate and assess the lessor and the lessee's situation. Okay, how flexible they are, and even we have to go into their legal rights. It's really gets complicated, and talagang have to mediate so much. I'll say that again later on, that in this crisis, in this pandemic, just like in the 97, we are more of mediators rather than salespeople. Because it's really making both sides understand. If you could do that, then you will be okay. All right. And so what's now? So on the property owners, we also have to inform property owners what to expect out of this uncertainty, so that they can, it will help them decide if they're going to sell the property or hold out. But you need figures, you need enough market information to feed to them so that they can grasp the situation vividly. Because if you don't have that, then wow, wala mangyayari talaga, no? Because there's a lot of dreamers, they're asking for the moon. They're still asking for a price so high, pre-COVID. And on the other hand, you've got the buyers who wants 2015 price. Huwag naman ganon. They're like 50% discount. And we're looking at about, the average really is maybe about 20 to 30% discount, 15 to 30. That would be the norm. I've seen it in 97. It did go down to about 40% on some properties. That's why location is so important. There were pre-selling projects sold in Sukat, and now I got clients that wanting to unload. Wow, siyempre, people now at this time they're looking at the prime area. They wanting to buy at Makati. What's good at Makati? What's 1 to 6? What's 1M to 6 million in Makati? That's I'll take a bite at that. That would be the goal, no? Okay. So for us, it's best to focus on end users at this point, because the end users would rather they're ready to buy. They're more open to negotiation. Because the investors, those are the tough ones. They're just, they're going to only buy at their price, and they're going to lowball. They have a price to make. So, of course, you've got to, again, mediate. You've got to match these people. So, again, that's a challenge. It's really parallel to the Asian financial crisis. We are more of mediators. And as a professional real estate broker, market knowledge and updates are needed to enhance every transaction that we embark on. Okay, so that's on pandemic. Next slide is on pandemic. Okay, again, this pandemic is a once in a lifetime event. Never has this happened. I mean, we got the Spanish flu, the SARS, but this is something different. This is really at a magnitude of a scale that's so wide and so huge that everyone's affected. Supply chain is affected. What happened? When all of a sudden, it started in China, and people realized everything was coming from China. you know, everything was held up. You know, where were all the goods and all that? For me personally, I do the grocery, I do the palenque in farmers. So there were some items in Unimart or in Marketplace that I've been waiting for that didn't come, that didn't arrive because there's no arrival. Even the plain alcohols, they were sold out. Because that's the supply chain. You know. Then also in the pandemic, what happened? The quarantine effect activities. You know, you got the ECQs, the GCQs, the modified ECQs. Gosh, if you didn't know your alphabets, you'll be in trouble, really. You know, and so also now we work from home, diba? Also, what brought about this pandemic was, you know, now we got this travel pass, the quarantine pass, and the rapid test. You know, so you know, it's really people are panicking, and it's better really to be paranoid. You know, I live in Green Hills, and gosh, you know, um, there's a high case, and we were a hot spot here. You know, but the Mayor Zamora did a real good job of controlling it. And really, you know, you walk in the street, you don't have any mask, you go spend an overnight in jail. That's what happened here. Okay, so next slide. Sentiment is of panic. Again, but you know what happened? So you now have the buyers. For the buyers, it's like, wow, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity again. You know, because those clients of ours that missed out buying 5, 10 years ago. Because you know, 10 years ago they're saying, oh, makokorek yan, makokorek yan. Mind you, we've been waiting for a correction for the past 12 years. But what happens? You know, all Asia is affected. We are the least affected. At the most, we just consolidated. And then, eto na naman, angat na naman tayo. Okay? So really, the wind is really going to Asia. Unfortunately, now really, I must say that somehow the government did a poor job on inviting FDIs or opening up the business opportunities. That's why it went most of the bulk of the companies that left China ended up going to Vietnam. So even our local developers here, such as Ayala, you know, and others that I'm not going to name now, they're there. They're there in going to Vietnam. Okay. Of course, it's such a negative sentiment. You know, some are thinking doomsday. There are some that are like, I'll sell now my property before it goes down, because that is really the right thinking, because it's just gonna get worse. To tell you, you know, I mean, I don't think it's gonna go. You know, they're saying there's talks about a V or a W, or you know, no, I think it's just gonna get worse for now. But we still have once this COVID thing is addressed, then it will be okay. Once that vaccine is there, because I tell you, I would say that still about 40% of my friends or relatives, they're just play safe. They just stay home. They have never been out. Everything's delivered, and so it's hard, you know. So again, what's the challenge? You know, the bonding is missing. Seeing them, and some of them don't like Zoom because Zoom has a negative sentiment that there's, you know, it's not a very good app, you know. But they've fixed that from what I've heard. No? Okay. So that is remember, a sentiment takes forever. You know, takes a while to disappear. A sample of a sentiment is, for some of you that may know, Magallanes Village. Magallanes Village is well known for flooding situation. In fact, that's been a forever issue there. So about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, they really worked on the problem. The DPWH president lives there, so they really, you know, fixed the problem. They diverted the culvert pipes. They did a double water pump, double wall, and this thing, not to control it. And sure enough, you know, it was corrected, and that's why you've seen prices go up. But when it was, when it was actually tested, there was a storm about 3 years ago, and Victoria Street, which was the most flooded prone area, was about 2 inches, and it was gone in about 15 minutes. So that was like a point already driven there. But that in spite of the fact that it did not flood, the sentiment took a while to get over with. Matagal ang sentiment. So now that it's what, 5 years later? And so that's 3 years ago when the flood came. It still took 2 years, and now people are buying. And that's why you've seen Magallanes now doing 175 to 225 from the 45,000 per square to 75,000 per square where it was before. Okay. Then I move on to economic recession. I trade the market, the stock market, and actually in this situation, we've seen it go down drastically. In fact, my portfolio was down 51%, and I didn't do anything, because it was still going to go down. But when it hit rock, when it hit bottom, I have to wait until it was going up, and so I started averaging down. So, but that's where I saw that okay, you could actually average down and make some profit on the way up, no? But and a lot of the stock market is also one investment vehicle that goes up ahead of the others. Okay, I do not recommend it though for everyone, but because it's really consider your money gone when you're putting in there. But I'm just saying that that's one of the barometers, initial barometers when there's a recession. Stock market is down, real estate prices is starting to go down. And eventually, I tell you, in about 2 years, you will see foreclosures. You will see also those project selling investors that bought in Ayala Land, Rockwell, SNDC, and the others. So now their building is up for turnover, right? So when it's up for turnover, the 50% turnover amount is due. If they bought it, let's say at 200,000, it's worth 350,000 now. So they have to if you're a buyer, are you gonna buy the 350? No, you're gonna want to stay close to the pre-selling. So if you're naman the seller, you're thinking, gosh, I want to be able to sleep. I don't want to, be tied up in this, amortization. So you'd let go than rather take profit. But of course, it's a case-to-case basis of kung gaano kahaba your PC. How long can you hold on to that investment, no? But that's going to happen, okay? So we see businesses closing that already, okay? So some are already in denial. A lot of restaurants are closing. I have some clients that have a chain of restaurants. They're minimizing, they're downsizing their operation. Just yesterday, I heard of a real estate company that laid off 50% of its people. Ayala already also did laid off. You see banks, they're in a rotation. Okay, so you come in this week, then next week you don't. So it's really a rotation. Some are taking a dive on you keep your job, but we lower your payroll. So those are the things. So this definitely affects our our lifestyle. You got rent to pay, you got bills to pay, you got school to of your children to pay. So this thing is really gonna get there. So and then mortgage foreclosures, and a big sign is also the bank rates. The rate points have really gone down. Although we're still better than what imagine America, they're already at 0% basis. We're still about 2%. No? So our bank fundamentals are great, because our bank, fortunately, our bank people are very conservative. No? Okay, so that's just the part now. So this is where it gets exciting. So now I go to the usual suspects. Okay, the next slide. That's a question about REITs. I think it will, but it will be again, it will be delayed again. Okay, so this is a typical slide, no, between a buyer's market and a seller's market. So with the buyers, demand is lower. There's few buyers. There's a lot of sellers. There's inventory is high. It takes longer to sell. For a while, we sell Dasma, Forbes, or a nice condo. I am very OC. We count the number of days from the day we have it. So when I price it, I'll tell Mr. Client, oh, okay, because we have a very good feel of what our client is willing to buy. So I tell him, okay, at this price, if you approve it, I give it 90 to 120 days. And sometimes it's gone in 14. Okay? And sometimes we get a bonus, but that's far in between happening, no? Fewer offers, lower offers. Some are so low ball na nakakainis. And then, of course, eventually a price reduction. On the sellers, if it's a seller's market, mayabang yan. There's so much demand. There's an offer already, and they're not taking it. In fact, I got a lot of clients also that regret not selling. I'm now dealing a building that I just got about a week ago, and he had a buyer for 170 million last year, thinking that it's still gonna go, because nobody really foresaw this pandemic happening. So he now regrets at 170. So now he really wants to undo because he's also got a loan tied up, and business is bad, and so the cash flow isn't that good. So I told him, what are you willing to let go? What's your net price or what's your gross price? So he gave me a very good price, and I told him, wow, at that price, because there's a building. So there's a building, and there's, of course, it's on a lot, no? But the price that he gave me was basically, the building is basically free. And I look at the building and I assess it, it's worth something. It could, so that is, coming into the purchase. This is the ideal situation when you sell property, is that the buyer should really be coming in with a profit already. You should be profiting as you buy. That's rare, but this is one of those situations. That's why I'm very optimistic about this property listing. Okay. Then of course on the seller's market, you got number of days. We count number of days: 7 days in the market, 30 days in the market. 120 days. Then you get multiple offers. There's an offer there. There's an offer here. Then it becomes a price war, which we avoid. We don't like a price war. I tell my seller, what is your firm price? And, so when we get that price, then it's a done deal. As long as we get that offer, don't be dreaming. And so I tell the buyers, okay, if I'm the buying broker, we put an offer. We put like, this offer is good for 7 days only. Para hindi, so that they won't use it for other, hey, they'll show it to another buyer. I got an offer here for this much. You got to beat this. Okay. Then that's actually unethical of sellers to do that. Okay. Okay. Multiple offers. Then homes selling above, like in the U.S., you get an offer of, let's say 10 million, and there's so many wanting to buy it. You get an offer that's above your asking price. It happens during a seller's market. So that's the difference between a buyer's and a seller's market. Today, and for quite some time, it will be a buyer's market. I can see that this is going to go till probably, this is we're 2020, till 2022. It will be a buyer's market. Okay, next slide, please. I don't have the mic on. So again, this is a general thing. Cash is king. People would rather hold on to their cash. I mean, if it's such a good deal that I'm already profiting and I know that I can sit on that, I'm ready and profit some more, then I'll take it. But for now, holding on to cash is really important because there will be a lot of opportunities that will happen. Next slide. Okay, this is it now. The usual suspects. So this is where I thought this is our life. This is our livelihood. This is our daily activities. This is what keeps us abreast, excited, pissed off, and sometimes you can't sleep because you get excited, or you can't, or you just can't sleep because you just can't get to that person. You want to speak to that person and just confront them nicely, so that you can get somewhere. Kasi you have to, hindi pwede mainit ang ulo eh. Just have to like always say it in a nice way. Okay? So what are our usual suspects? You got the property owners, you've got the property buyers, okay? You've got the real estate brokers, you've got the property developers, and of course the government agencies. Of course, there's what we call the eddies and the patties. Who are they? The eddies and the patties are yung mga, edi ako rin, yung nag-refer, si Patty, kung babae, di pati ako, that's what it is, no? Okay. But that's the reality. So, with that, I'll get on to now the next slide, which is the property owners. So, what is our issue about property owners? Have you heard of the word urong sulong? Diba? May mga urong sulong, they're unsure of selling. They're feeling their market. As a seller, you always want to get the most, even though it's unrealistic. On the lease side, okay, sometimes I've had a 20-year lease on, let's say, I don't know if you've seen the Total site in Ortigas. As you come down by Xavier, that's been there for 20 years. That was my long-term lease. No? So, my condition there was I get paid for so much. But after the 7th year, they did not pay me anymore. But there was a clause in the contract that I was still gonna pay. But change of management, they didn't honor me na. Those things happen. Okay? So what? You're gonna sue them? Then I go to the problem. It's so negative. So I don't like, okay, move out to the next positive thing. Anyway, 7 years of payment, that's good, But that's one thing, they're unethical, they won't pay renewal fees. Then another thing is sellers don't realize our world. They have a piece of property, and so they want to sell it so fast. They want immediate results. So they entertain 100 brokers. I'm exaggerating, of course. No? So they entertain everyone. In fact, even a colorum, somebody that's not licensed, they entertain them just to sell the property. Their comadre, their compadre, their kamajong, oh, baka may kilala ka, di ba? So that's another issue that we're confronting also. Some sellers will always be proud about their properties. They will say, oh, maganda to, it's been renovated, clean title, but there's issues pala. They will not tell you. And they won't release the title to you for you to do due diligence. Only when, so, you're kind of, okay, I'll work on this. And when it comes to, to get an offer, and now you start due diligence, there's problems pala. So that's another issue. I had January, we signed up for a lease for a warehouse. It's a sizable one in Laguna, in the Peza zone. So what happens? Because of some renovation, it took about 60 days for them to finally give the full payment. And by the time they gave the full payment of the deposits, we were supposed to collect as soon as the property owner received the full deposits, right? But what happened? We got locked down. But they gave us a check. Okay, right before that, they said lang, okay, deposit, give me about 60 days left because I just have to settle some bills, some dues, no? Some bills. So fast forward, that's March, April, May, June. So now we just got a call yesterday, my staff did, and they wanted our professional fees to be stretched out to 8 months. And I go, why? Because apparently his other lessee or tenants are lagging behind on payments. So his cash flow was affected. But I'm telling them, okay, well, we have our own issue too. Plus, we gave you a clean deal. We gave you the full payment. Everything was there, signed, sealed, delivered, clean. In 3 weeks, it was a done deal. We deserve to be paid. I'm sorry you're going through that, but we also have our issues. I mean, I got bills to pay. I've got monthly bills to pay on my office, PhilHealth, pag-ibig for my staff, that sort of thing, no? So, hindi lang siya, but he got paid. So, but those things will happen, all right? Another thing with sellers, they won't issue an authority to sell. And it's happened to me also, wherein, they've used that, wala ka naman hawak. You're not holding on to anything. So what do? Then that's the time that I use some lawyers. And of course, we spread the word around that, don't deal with this property owner. Some, you just really use it as an experience. You live through it and you learn from it. Because we can't really control everything. As I said, you will never, in the real estate world, you won't have a smooth riding transaction all the time. There will be challenges, and there will be unethical people that you come across with. That's why real estate is really not for everyone. You have a strong heart in doing this. Then on renewals, okay, on the rental, there's also just a simple rental on a rental unit, condominium. So it was a month renewal because we got a good price for a multinational. So it was supposed to be 1 month for every year, and so now because of this pandemic, they just want to pay half month. Okay, can happen again, no? Sellers are also, some of them are in denial as far as like, okay, I'm not gonna go down on my price yet. I'm telling them, because it's our job to inform them of the total scenario. This is what can happen in a year, in 6 months' time. More people will be selling. By the time you're selling, you'll have more competition. One will lower their price. Next thing you know, you have to lower your price. Another person puts in their property. They have to lower their price. And then it's a snowball effect. That's what happened in 97, 99, 2000. So the sooner you're out, remember, I'm telling them, what's your objective? Your objective is to sell. What's your time frame? So then we work on that time frame. You got to do it now because it's just going to get lower in about 6 months to 2 years' time. Okay. One example also of sellers are, like, as I said, are the ones that bought and are already making money. They bought Rockwell at 200,000, and it's up to 400,000 per square now. On some, let's say on Edades or on Manansala or Proscenio. So, but they want to unload, and because they don't want to pay the monthly amortization, or it's turnover time already for them. So forget about the high profit. If you want to unload, there's buyers at this price. Maybe you get at the worst, you'll get break even, at which is, you'll sell back to, because what's going to be an appetite for me if I were the buyer for your Edades? I'd like to get it at a very good price. I'd like to get it also at pre-selling price, or at the most you make, I'll let you make about 10-20% profit. But at 200,000 and 400,000, we're far off. There's nothing that's gonna happen. You sell me at 235, 250, then maybe something will happen. So that's one thing sellers have to realize. So in denial pa sila. Okay, they'll try it out, and next thing you know, they're paying the monthly until they couldn't pay anymore. And by that time they couldn't pay anymore, what happened? There's already someone selling lower than their price. Okay? So again, I will repeat, the Asian financial crisis, the real crash really happened in 1999 to 2000. So imagine 97, so that's 2 years to 2.5 years. So it's really better to be ahead of the market. Lots of property sellers are wanting to cash in. So for those that are still amortizing ongoing projects and want to move, it's best to reduce your profit margin and get out. Reach the objective. That will be the things. Another thing that we're encountering is that since they're lowering their price, they're saying, well, let's negotiate your professional fees. Okay, 5%, 3%. 3%, I tell you, real thing in the market. Of course, out of town, diba? 5% yan. Business for sale, M&As, mergers and acquisitions, 5% yan. Okay? So like on condominiums, houses, 3% karamihan. So of the, between the, how many 3%, what's the ratio of 3 and 5%? On 3%, my gosh, probably 85%. It's only 15% that we get 5%. And there's no law. You look at the code of ethics, you look at the whole bit of DTI, there's nothing there. And even in the US, I've read through that, even Canada, I've read code of ethics because I'm very much into the ethics thing. Voila, there's nothing that tells you about the percentage of the actual what amount brokers should really make. No? This is really a norm that we go through. Okay? So another thing is the sellers are also honoring colorum individuals to help sell because they're desperate. Again, so here's another hot property. I'm very hot on it. I'm really pushing it. I'm sending it to Facebook, sending it to clients. I'm doing the video. So it's my priority. It's like my top 10 or top 5. But I can't show it because the owner is in Anbaya and won't allow anybody to go to the house. Baka COVID, somebody might walk in there with COVID. So that's another thing to have to show the property. So that's why if you get a chance to do it now, my come on is like, it's just me. I'm gonna be in my PPEs. I'm just gonna take a quick video, all right, of the property, so that at least we already have something in file, and you don't have to worry about anybody walking into your house. It's just me. Here's my rapid test. I'm negative. Diba? Okay. Hope I'm not boring you guys. Huh? Okay. So best advice is to give the scenario of the market so owners can really decide if they're going to sell or hold out. But if it's part of of what we do. We really have to feel the market and know the market because and relay that information, because if that information is not relayed to the property owner, then they have no sense of direction. They really don't know, and they have no basis of decision. Okay, so that's issue with property owners. Okay, next is property. Yeah, all right. Am I good? My gosh, I think I'll have to talk faster here. Property buyers. Oh gosh, they're all looking at good deals, bargains, fire sales. Some are so unrealistic. It's 2020. They're looking at 2012, 2015 prices. Okay, and the sad thing is sometimes it's already a good deal, and we tell them, but they have a frame of mind. They have a mindset. No, so it's a good deal already. The last sale was ganyan, or that's that's the price that that buyers that the seller bought it for. Break even na lang yan. So they can't see that because so they're missing out on a good deal already. Even though we tell them, well, they won't listen. They have to get their own frame of mind. So they're really hoping for an unrealistic price. And so what do? We focus more on end users talaga. Okay? We find out what specific requirements they really need. And the good thing also with property buyers is that they're open to really viewing properties first online. So we gotta have that ready. Those videos so that they can walk through the house, the 360s. That's why this app's already really sold those what do you call this? Some are like, got into those, Vespal, that, where you can do a video without shaking, no? Okay. Property buyers, gosh, they don't also ask for a rebate. Okay. Oh, you make it 3, bigyan mo ko ng 1% na, total, binigyan kita ng negosyo. That's what we're going through. There's very few buyers. They're very prudent. They take their time. So sometimes you lose out a deal because somebody else got there ahead of you. And in spite you told them, buy it now. So as much as some of us are real good closers or good negotiators, wala eh. You can only do so much. There's not all deals are meant. So some clients are just very tough. No, they will only buy at their price. And also, some buyers are so hard to schedule. They're scared to leave their house. So the general mindset also of an investor is to stay liquid until it's really a fire sale. Okay. Another issue for property buyers is we're servicing a senior, can't leave the house. Why? They're paranoid also that they'll catch a COVID. No. Okay. It gets more exciting. Now we got into the next slide, the real estate brokers. Okay. This is a picture of my networking event that I started. No? Anyway, so, you got colorum practitioners. You've got unethical brokers brought about by tough times. Some are in fact, some of our brokers that we're networking with are already doing other businesses. So they, in a way, you see that they adapted because they're very they're in touch. They see opportunities. So I have 5 networks very that we work closely with, and what they're now doing PPE business. They're selling face masks. They're one got into online food, essentials. So that's what they're doing. It's to generate more income. In the meantime, I'm working on a listing with them, and they can't update it. That's another issue I'm encountering. I got a buyer. I'm not ready now. I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm selling face masks. So nevertheless, we've got that relationship, but I can't force them to focus if they can't themselves, diba? Can only do so much, no? So that's one frustration. And so updating and scheduling of viewing makes it difficult. Challenge because also with the increased education through web. Okay, updating and scheduling of viewing is also challenged as communication and travel has limitations. You got the quarantine, the travel pass things, no? So what also happened to us recently, increased webinars. I mean, everybody's into webinars, free webinars. Some are now charging for webinars. And some are good, some are not. In fact, I saw some taking the ride, trying to give information, but gosh, the webinar isn't good because it's not valid information that they give. So you got to choose the webinars that you go through, no? Okay. Some have also adapted and went through YouTube and studied videography, videos, how to do websites. Okay. So they're increasing education. I mean, that's the best we could do. It's really educate ourselves so we can be better. We got to adapt to the new norm, due to this pandemic. Okay. This pandemic is also the effect, there's a behavioral effect to it also. Some are depressed. Some are just like, I'm not into real estate right now. Just like, why? They had a relative that passed away. Or imagine so sad to have a relative or a close friend pass away and voila, couldn't even visit them. In fact, even relatives, direct family relatives, so from the time that they're dead in Cardinal Santos, diretso na kagad sa cremation. That's what happened. So it's really sad, no? Okay, so there are some that are affected with that also. And that's not only real estate brokers, those are property owners, the whole shebang, everyone's, most everyone are affected. No? On brokers also, we have a problem with, especially, the non-colorum individuals, that they don't know issues on how to sell. They don't know, they're, I got an uncle who sold his property through a colorum broker. It was his primary residence, and then he bought from the same broker again. Wow, not knowing that he could have taken advantage of the primary gains exception. So when I was computing it, he would have saved about 4 million. 4 million is 4 million, but the broker didn't know. I mean, the individual, the colorum individual, didn't know about that law. So that's the problem about dealing with colorum individuals. With brokers also, not transparency. They're not telling us that, oh, okay, there's a nice property. Okay, yung pala, there's a problem with siblings nag-aaway. There's a loan that has not been paid. They're about to be foreclosed. There's a creek behind. Tell me na immediately all. So if, I will know if I'm gonna take a bite at working at your property or not. Because that's the first thing that I do in order to assess a property. Also, there are brokers that do not have any empathy. There's negotiation, and they're just so one-sided. They don't listen to the negotiation. All they want to do is close. How can you close if you don't, mediate between both parties? You got to have both parties meet. So there are those kinds. They just want to make money, okay? And they're after, one deal. They're not after like a repetition, no? Okay. There are brokers that are not familiar. They start pushing property. They never even saw it. And then also some are like, they updated, they have that listing, and the last time they updated was 2 years ago. Prices are different now. There's a different owner probably even. This one gets to me. If you're a broker, you know that telephone is so important. Answer your phone call. Okay, answer. You get a text. Got it. Thanks. Got it. There's also guilty of not replying back on a text. Not replying on an email. All right. Or not returning the calls. So what's that? What's the cause of that? Well, they probably don't like to deal with you, or information overload. And then what's the cause of information overload? They're part of a million Viber groups, 500,000 WhatsApp. I'm exaggerating, of course. For me, got 5 groups. That's it. I got more than enough. I deal with quality rather than quantity. Because that same member will be a part of that next group also. So what happens? In fact, I pride myself on starting Viber groups. There was nobody doing Viber group. Viber started in 2010. I started doing an initial Viber group of about 50 networks of mine. I shared all of them. At that time, nobody wanted to share. They're one broker away. Siyempre, that's your bala. That's your ammunition. But, I'm open. And what's important is there's a deal every day. We're helping out the client. No? Okay. So we move now to property developers. They have become more flexible and accommodating. Now we see them giving lighter payment terms. On late payments, they are waiving interest also. Because if you were the developer, what's important is to keep the account alive. They've now increased broker's fee. I mean, there's a big developer, big famous developer that's so masungit, because they know their properties, like, you just put out a pre-selling, people line up, and so they don't need the broker. But but now they've increased that. They're giving incentives. They're giving discounts on sale on a sale now. Okay. And prepare to face amortization issues. There will be there will be people that won't be able to pay up. Okay. Another thing is the back office. We've always said that, how come they're so good? They hire so many people, the selling agents, but on the back room, where to handle all this paperwork after the sale is done, it's slow. That's sad. That has to be addressed. No? Okay. Prior to pandemic, some developers didn't even accredit. I mean, there's one development along Ayala Avenue. It was so masungit. No brokers and so much lang percentage. Now they're open to that. Okay. All right. And also, I'm not into project development. No, I'm in project selling. But within a certain company, they have preferred inner circle or preferred in-house groups or preferred brokers group. So that's an issue also. Okay. And the last, really, it happened to my friend, was a misrepresentation of the project. You started the project, you started taking in money and didn't finish it. So you basically ripped off people. So and who gets the brunt of that? The broker or the agent that sold. But actually, who gets away with it? That developer. Okay. Next slide is government agencies. Wow. Right now, it's an online practice. It's still slow. Skeletal force. So does the documents being processed are so slow. Unbelievable lines. I mean, if you go and get QCRD or what, you have to fall in line, and then by the time you get there, close to pala sila, or they only take 25 transactions a day. So it's sometimes when you call, the problem is there's no one answering because there's not enough people there to answer the phone. A sample of that is Convergys. I mean, 2 years for me, I've been wanting to increase my bandwidth. So, they said to send an email. No one can even answer the email. And I'm one of the first 50 clients. So what I did, I went to Reliance. Okay. I went to the to Reliance building in Pasig. Sir, you have to be here at siguro mga 7. Kasi when I went there, there's like 50 people online. So, but, I get preferred, plus I'm senior. So I can get, ahead of that. So that's a big advantage. No? Okay. Another thing is that, the government agencies, they should really train their people on, lalo na now, di ba? Talagang naging online. The people are not trained well enough. Sometimes they hire people and they're not qualified. Okay. Also, shorter hours. RD or BIR, assessor's office, LGUs, they're only open from 9 to 3, 9 to 2. Right? So you come all the way so far, you have to go through a travel pass then, tapos just to get there, and waste of time. Okay, so you really have to check procedures online. Okay, all right. And then of course the red tape. How come it's taking so long? That's why take note of ARTA, anti-red tape. Sa ARTA, there's Belgica. That's the guy's name, no? It's really good. And you can really use him. He's really helpful. They're really out to correct the system. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Tony. Okay, all right. Now, okay, let me get to on my operations on my own. No, so property viewing is really. Go to the next slide on operations. Okay. Next slide. You're looking at the old one. Okay, that's the new slide. That's the new norm now. Not the Zoom. Actually, the Zoom has worked better for me. Okay, because like my operation, my staff, my people would send me their report at the end of the day, and so if I do get to read it, take note. If I do get to read it, that's another thing. So I don't. Sometimes the following day. Sometimes I don't. So with this Zoom, we meet in the morning, we meet in the afternoon, midday. So it brings me to their actual conversation with their operation, with their who they're talking to. I spoke to Miss X, and Miss X needs this and blah blah blah. Why don't you call him? Well, right there. So we address, and so it's more result oriented now. We're so more focused on it. No? Okay. Okay. Before I get to my personal experience on operations again, can you get to the slide on the new norm? Okay, it's basically ending it already. Okay, so what's the new norm? Now we got this quarantine pass, we got travel pass, physical distancing, no handshake, face mask. Actually, you know the face mask? Somebody told me. He said having a hard time because it's hard to talk. Yeah. And then, of course, if I think it's a fact that all of us have a certain appeal when we're talking to clients. So it's nice when you see their smile. So that's deleted. You know, they don't see that immediately. So the chances and that's part of your ammunition on closing. So that's taken away. The face mask already. Face shield, the sanitizer, the alcohols. You got your temperature check, the fill out your health forms, contract tracing. So now we got this video conferencing, which is good. Then you have to learn the 360 videos. We're now into the cashless payments, PayPal, diba? Staff house. Now we were dealing staff house primarily for POGOs. So now, it's a staff house for a company because they want their people secure. So they'll house the number, whatever the number is, and they also have now their shuttle service. Okay. So we really have to embrace technology as a sales tool. Blogs, Facebook. I've been doing that since 1993. No KMC Max, no Colliers, no big companies yet. Then it was something that I got when I was working in San Francisco, and I enjoyed just relaying what the actual market was. So we have to be informed also. The new norm, we have to be informed what's going on in the market. So really have to stay in touch. What's on the news? What's a webinar coming up? I know a good friend. She speaks later. Architect Tony. She's really into a lot of webinars. Yan, talagang very diligent on learning stuff. We have more operations. I'm there. So you'll hear it. What's really happening out there, and I say it the way it is. So we got to know what's the latest rulings on government agencies. What this condominium is now allowing. A house I saw yesterday in a certain subdivision only allowed 2 people to come in, take off your shoes, and then there's 6 of them that were so. And then up to the sala only, no bedroom. So it's like, okay, then so what? It hampers also the presentation because now you see I can only show the bedrooms through a photo, but in every transaction, the client really has to see the whole property. Okay, so and on villages, okay, I realized, like, let's say UPS 1, wow, you can't go outside your house. We here in Green Hills, I live in a condo here. I get to walk. I get to walk around Green Hills, walk my dog. I walk in every morning, and I go to farmers. Parang okay lang, but I was always in my face mask also, no? Okay. So and also these things that we've through Zoom and other medium, we've stayed connected with our friends, our classmates, diba? At my age, it's nice to go back and relive the past, and relatives and friends, no. So so what happened really? This new norm, in a matter of months, the lives of so many ourselves have changed in hundreds of ways. And that's the way it is, no? So we have to survive and adapt to the coronavirus for now until a vaccine is found, no? This is the new normal: cautious travel, office closures, work from home modules, and for us, after 31 days of quarantine lockdown, we already started our operation. But gosh, that 31 days talagang, when we were starting to do Zoom talk in my office, talagang nangalawang. What number was that house again? Who was that property owner? So that was a consequence of that 31 days of not being into what we were doing. Okay? So we have to be aware of the everyday market situation in the industry, the national, the global developments. We are blessed that we are now in a digital social media age. And platforms such as Facebook, webinars are just there now. No? Free, of course. Well, we have to take advantage of these platforms, be aware of market trends, forecasts from leaders in the industry, and through webinars, we learn from our colleagues, mentors, and leaders in the industry who have been there and who can give us business advice. So, and I'll end with three experiences that we're encountering now. I have a prime condominium in Ayala. So in February, a 2.5 million manager's check was issued. The paranoid buyer, since my SPA was not yet there, would not release it to me. Okay, so but because the broker is a trusted network of mine, because of that relationship, I've said, okay, I'll hold it for you guys. The seller is senior, lives in Australia, and could not travel. They are not allowed, and he's also scared of COVID. So and imagine just going to it. And so if we were to do an SPA, he has to go out also, and there he couldn't do that because of quarantine also in Australia. To mail it, there's also an issue. There are some like FedEx. I'm sure FedEx will, no, but maybe FedEx is far from him. But he went to like a local thing, and they said, "Oh, we don't accept mail going to the Philippines." So that should have been the SPA and the title. Of course, the title, we're kind of scared of sending the title because once I have the title, it's a done deal. No? So that's one. Number two is that earlier that warehouse thing where all of a sudden they got all the deposits already and they're saying, oh, okay, I need 8 months to pay you off. Okay, sorry, it's not possible. Then another one is a ground floor unit in Makati CBD, ready buyer. Again, fortunately, these are like good people. They're not backing out yet, or they haven't backed out, and they won't back out. But it's just really a matter of waiting for the opportune time that this COVID concerns are over. So, I hope that I've shared enough, and I've brought you to the world of real estate practice that we go through day in, day out. And that's about it. I thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. That was really very interesting. I will allow you to answer questions from the chat box, Robert.
Oh, chat box. Oh, okay. I have to open the chat box.
So first, I'd like to read it na lang para mabilis.
Okay.
From Raul, like you mentioned other kinds of properties, but he wants to know how do you do, what are the challenges, or maybe how do you do commercial lots versus and residential lots as well?
How do I do commercial?
Maybe how do you like, is it as strict as the other properties, or is it, how do you go about selling commercial properties versus residential?
Okay, well, you know what? First of all, I look at the property, and the property should be realistic. It's so hard to sell a property or work on a property that you do not believe in. Okay, so let's say I got a nice duplex that I'm working on in Valle Verde 6. I liked it. I priced it. They're my friends. I work it. So on that parameter, yes, it's a go. Then there's a commercial in Rodriguez Senior now that I'm working on. So it's the owner spoke to the owner. He seemed nice, but of course I look at it and I go, okay. So I went there. Wow, it's near the Tomas Norto area. So location is good. Is it priced well? It's priced right. In fact, it was given to me at a net price. So on a net price, remember when it's a net price, it's not an overprice. Diba? Kasi we factor all the computation in. We factor in since it's an office building, so we factor in the VAT, we factor in the CWT, and since it's Quezon City, you got to factor in also business tax. Okay? And then you tack in your professional fees. But, you know, the professional fees, huli ko nang kinocompute yun because I'm looking at it, you know, let's say, I'm offering it, let's say, for 165 right now. The owner wants an X amount. And after computing it, taxes and all that, siyempre, we also have to know amounts. Amounts are very important, you know. Cannot say it online. Okay. Amounts, you know, selling price, you know, that sort of thing. Diba? So, when I compare, parang, okay, so what's left over? Oh, parang lumalabas 8% pa ang professional fees. So there are those deals that just land your way, you know? So that's how I focus. Okay, then we go all out on those.
Okay.
Right then.
Yeah, I will be lecturing on the elements of brokerage, and I'll be taking up the one element which is listing, and net listing is one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question: is it the duty of the broker to check titles or property they are selling if there are no liens and encumbrances? You do that, Robert?
Yes, I do. You know, because at the end of the day, it's gonna waste my time. You know, so prior to that, I really ask, you know, is the title clean? If I know the people, because it's a case to case. There are some that was referred to you, you know, but some naman are off. You know, so there's a way of asking. Okay, actually, it sounds professional also to them. I'm sorry, we go through this process. If we're gonna work on your property, I tell them right away. Okay, so I need to get a copy of your title. It's just gonna be amongst us. We're not, but we know we just need to get a certified true copy. If you cannot release it to us,
Right.
can you provide it for us? But just so that we know that what we're working with is legit and clean, because we don't want to waste your time. Siyempre, uunahin natin yung waste your time rather than our time. Nauna
Correct.
sila lagi.
And then if there is a problem, adverse claim or liens, we have to disclose it right to the buyer.
Yes. Also, it's also good. Also, when there is an issue, then it's also that's where our deep net connections of lawyers from different practices come in. Kasi minsan it's an opportunity. Okay, may extrajudicial yan. Okay, magkano ba binibenta? Sometimes ako na babayad ng estate taxes yan. Ako na you know, I will just do the capitalization on that. Ako na, you know, so it's my deal now, no?
So it becomes a negotiating leverage also.
Exactly. Yes, it does.
Okay. So now there's another one. I think one developer should answer this, no? The law requires, well, the titles of the developers after they finish the project will be released. No, will be released one day. But at what stage will the title be turned over? I'd like to give the floor to our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Techi Bautista, who is also a developer. When are the titles released to the buyer? Miss Tech. You unmute.
Yeah. Ave, paki-repeat.
Okay. So you're a developer, right? Okay. If I am a buyer and then I've already finished paying the property, at what stage will you release my title?
Normally, it should be upon full payment. Now, if it's going to be partial, let's say like you'd like to get some documents, but you're not fully paid yet, no? What is usually given is a conditional deed of sale as a partial document to document the transaction. But it is very, very rare that somebody will be willing to release the title to the buyer if it is not
Unless fully paid.
consummated.
So like if I fully pay now, how long will it take? Like 2 months? Is it 10 months?
Yeah, there are some basic steps. Number one is the release of the CAR, Certificate Authorizing Registration. That is a very crucial document that has to be completed before the title can be transferred.
Yeah,
So
because there's so many titles, no? Of,
yeah,
of these lots, yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even before you start with the selling transaction, it is very important that you work on the due diligence on the title, including tax assessment. And then after that, you proceed with the payment, whatever terms you might come up with. And then once it is fully consummated, then there is now the transfer of title to the new parties or the new buyers. And that is a very crucial part of that transfer of title is the CAR.
Okay, thank you. So I think that answers your question.
Sabi,
Okay,
sabi,
yeah. Okay. Budget Director Demi, you have something to say?
as a practice, no, as a
Can you speak
practice,
louder,
upon
Dem?
payment, hello, can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah, yes, louder, please.
After, upon full payment of the buyer, the total contract price, you should already release the deed of absolute sale, the tax declaration, as well as the title. Then, let alone, they transfer it under their name immediately. There's no problem with that. Now, if and when it says that it is the duty of the developer to transfer the title in the name of the developer with some considerations, then it will take a little time. And this is the process whereby you go to BIR, no? You go to the register of deeds for the transfer. Sometimes it takes a little time, no? But it's normally what we normally do, especially if you sell house and lot packages, no? It is the responsibility of the developer to transfer it. No? Most especially if these things has to be taken out in pag-ibig. But if it is a simple sale of the property, immediately when he gives the money, you give the title, you give the tax declaration, you give the tax clearance, and that's it. He could already go to the BIR and the register of deeds to transfer the title. So the responsibility is no longer with the developer.
Yeah. So in the case of developers, it will like take a longer time than the usual simple sale, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just make sure, because you know, in my experience before, some developers have mortgage the property for a development loan in the past, so they have to take them out from the bank. Yeah, before, even if the buyers paid already, it will really take some time for them to redeem the property. So everybody's asking, what happened to my title? I need my title as in yesterday, but they could not give it because there was a mortgage and they have to clear it out, pay off the bank, and then all these titles for this particular cluster, no, that's the only time they can release it. Okay. Now, I'd like to throw this question to Robert. How do you deal with unlicensed sellers, Robert? Unmute yourself, yeah.
Okay, where's that?
How do you deal with unlicensed sellers? From Kylie, Nise, from Kyle.
Unlicensed sellers or unlicensed? Because sellers.
Well, unlicensed, that means colorum, no? That's what
colorum brokers.
Colorum agent.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm very particular about that, no? So I don't.
You don't.
I don't. You know.
What do you do with them? What do you do with them? What do you say?
Well, okay. All right. There's two. No? There are, okay, the reality of it, diba? We have friends that are well connected, no?
Yeah.
Well, they're well connected. They introduce me to their friends, but I tell them offhand, you know, you know, if ever na lang, I'll just give you something from my end na lang as a token, okay? But I'll be the, you know, you're not licensed. I have to front on this one. I have to be the one. No? But for people that call in, you know, you'll hear the money when they call you, and they sound like really like an agente, you know. I just hang up, or I just parang waste of time, di ba? You know? Available pa ba itong oil depot na to?
Wala parang good afternoon o kaya good evening.
Good evening, di ba? So So I just avoid it. It's a waste of time. There are more than enough transactions or deals to work with. So I choose my battle.
Yeah, because some of us, I heard that they would usually put in their advertisement that only licensed real estate brokers or agents are allowed or are entertained, something like that.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Some are doing that now.
You see,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's the ethics.
Really.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
So,
that's the thing with PRC. Until they really pass, implement the RESA law or the code of ethics.
yeah.
Wala, this thing will just keep on going. And even though when that happens already, it will still take time. Alam mo naman, maraming pasaway dyan eh.
Yeah. Right,
Diba?
right.
But it's really up to us and also to the developers to really, okay, if I may say this lang, no?
80% here are developers.
Yeah, we need talaga the help of the developers kasi, we compare ourselves between the insurance industry and ourselves, real estate. Look at the insurance industry. They somehow really got together and to like professionalize themselves. So
Right.
now do you hear of insurance agents? No. Kasi dati insurance agent ka lang. Now they are financial consultants. Right?
Financial consultants.
Yeah, but they really upgraded the industry and professionalized everyone. And walang colorum.
Yeah.
Same thing has to happen or something similar has to happen. And I think the developers aware of that naman. But it's my hope and prayer that we'll get there. Kasi there's marami naman sa atin talagang professional talaga eh. But, nadadamay tayo ng mga, those ones that are, yung mga ahente. Kaya we get that thing na ahente ka lang. Diba?
Yeah. Licensed brokers, we have something to lose. We have our PRC number, license, and we are very, very careful. Now, I think most of our developers in this class, if I'm not mistaken, they accredit licensed brokers, Robert.
Great, yeah.
So there's a question here. For example, if you're a developer, okay, by Star, Quazon, how do you make sure, like there's so many projects, okay? And what is your incentive? How do you make sure that this particular broker sells that property? At anong palagay mo? What do you think is the incentive for you to sell this particular project? Yeah, you. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Again, sorry. I didn't.
If I am a developer, Robert, and I get you as my network, for example,
Right.
what will make you focus on my project? What is it?
Well, I gotta like the project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's gotta be like, it's gotta have some value into it. I must like the location.
Right.
Incentives help, but I'd like more of I gotta believe in the project more. Eh. The money is not as important. Eh. Kailangan talaga sa akin, I really believe in what the problem.
What about the commission scheme? Should it more than the market?
That comes after. I really have to like the project and I have to respect the developer. There are a few developers what I admire are developers that finish a project na hindi umasa sa pre-selling. May maganon eh.
Okay.
Diba? Here in Green Hills, we got 27 Napolis. My gosh, hats off. They went through the whole project, not relying on pre-selling. But then again, of course, I know naman that that's really the name of the game. But really, it's really who the developers are. That's
correct.
important.
So because there are new developers now, so please take note of that. We brokers or the marketers would like to bank on the trustworthiness of the project, maybe because of the location.
Yeah.
And the last is the commission scheme and incentives. Kasi kahit naman maganda yung commission scheme, if the project is not really trustworthy, so that's really one point. Okay, thank you. So I think we're allowed one more question. Is it okay? Somebody has to answer this. Is it mandatory now? From Lord John Salvador. Is it mandatory now for developers to have individual titles on the subdivided lots they're selling? I'd like to throw this question to Demi.
Well, actually, uh, there's a long process actually when you come up with a project. In fact, if you look at the process, it first starts with what the mother title.
Yeah.
You have the mother title. If you're going to develop from the mother title, then you get your development permit. Then you go to the Bureau of Land, subdivide the titles. Ideally, the developer should have the titles. But as you have said, big or small developers got developmental loans from banks or financial institutions that would basically help them in the development of the project. Now, if you mortgage a property in a bank or financial institution, make sure that you have something like a redemption value for each lot.
For each lot, okay.
Yeah, you must have that. Why? Because for every payment that you have made to the bank, if you amortize, if it is a term loan, for example, which is not a line, it's a term loan, any payment that you have done, there should be an equivalent number of titles that goes back to you. That is the ideal setup. No? And that is what is happening right now. No? Then, initially, you give the mother title to the bank for the developmental loan. And as soon as you got the approval from the Bureau of Lands that you could now subdivide the title, then you get back again the title from the bank and give it to pay corresponding taxes. Then you could go back to the register of deeds for the subdivision of the titles. Now, this is now, as I've said, the time when you could now allocate a certain amount of payment for each lot. You must be very clear with that with the bank, so that anytime you make a payment, you draw an equal amount of lots. Or if ever there is a need for you to an immediate payment of a specific lot who paid you immediately, then you pay corresponding amount and release to you the title if you have that kind of arrangement. No, this is a normal practice. So much so that you don't necessarily have all the titles with you. Now, it's ideal, as Robert said, it's ideal if the developer will not take out developmental loan and will just simply do all the process and put on their vault all the titles. That's very ideal, but that is not the usual practice. That's why he's telling us, Robert is telling us, very rare that you get this kind of developer. No?
Yes.
But if they're expanding, if you are expanding, there is no way probably that you could possibly escape this. We just have to be very, very prudent insofar as taking out loan for the project.
Okay, thank you. So that's very clear. For those, the title should be ready unless a developer takes out a loan, but a provision should be placed with the bank that at any point in time, this is fully paid. A portion of it can already be taken out and given to the buyer. Okay. Now, I'd like to make this fast because our next lecturer is already in. The property consultant, Robert, you don't call a property consultant like some of the developers call the agent's property consultant. But you know, property consultants has a different, PRC has a different definition, right? Diba, 10 years experience as a broker, you have to pass the consultancy exam, etc. So we developers or the developers should avoid using the word consultant unless he's really a consultant. Okay? So with this, marami pang tanong yan, but we have wala na tayong oras. Thank you very much, Robert. I salute you for these wonderful experiences and sharing with us the challenges that you have experienced. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
All right.
Now, we'll take a 2-minute break first, and then we'll proceed to our next lecturer.